Hey, welcome back, y'all. So, as you can see, I got the Cobra in the background, and guessed by the title. Been driving the Cobra for the past few days. It's about 90 degrees here. You know, about 50 to 70% humidity. And that's kind of where Arkansas tends to hover, in the 90 to 100 degree range, with 50 to 100% humidity from basically from May to September. So we have pretty stable hot summers. With that being said, I've got a lot of data that I've collected over the years on IATs with this car, ranging from the Eaton to the ported Eaton to the now the Kenny Bell, with the stock, all with the stock intercooler. Then now with I've got a couple days of data with the VMP and hot weather that I want to share. So to go over, I have to go back a step to some of the progress and testing I did way back in the day with the stock Eaton. So with the stock Eaton, now mind you, I've had an LFP coolant heat exchanger coolant tank and an LFP heat exchanger that were on the car when I bought it. They still are. The heat exchanger most likely needs to be changed out because it's probably filthy and clogged up, and it's nasty looking anyway, but from the years of driving it, because I did daily drive this car for a couple of years. But those two things have been the same. And some of the things I did to test back in the day, with the stock Eaton, I was running a 276 upper pulley with a 4-pound lower, so peak of 17 psi boost, dropping down to about 14, 13 with the stock Eaton. Ported, it would hang on there about 15 to 16 at redline. But anyway, with the stock Eaton, in the summer, in weather such as this, with the LFP setup I had and the stock intercooler pump, I would see upwards of 138, 130, 130 to 140, most really closer to 140 degree IAT2s after driving for about making a 30-mile trip home from work in the afternoons. Now that's not, most people, all they care about is, oh, what does it do getting on it? Well, the thing is like with that, it would not cool down very fast if you did get on it, and it only went up from there. It would cool back down, but that's just about where it kind of heat soaked and normalized like it was its operating temperature. Fast forward, I took out the hard lines and rerouted the intercooler plumbing, and that dropped about 5 to 10 degrees off of the intercooler temps. Switched out to straight water with water wetter or Royal Purple Ice, one of the whichever, usually the Royal Purple Ice because it's easier to get a hold of here. And that dropped about another 10 to 15 degrees off of the IAT2s. So I usually would end up with about 120-ish, like a heat soaked after driving it IAT2s. So there's that. The ported blower in that case really didn't make any difference when I added it. It didn't heat soak as fast when getting on it, but as far as what I'm talking about, it pretty much was the same. Moving forward to early last year, when I put the Kenny Bell on, it immediately was driving around it would do the same thing, but it would be about 100, back up to about 145 to 150 after the same type of drive. So went back up and then some. So, which, you know, most people know that the twin screws run hotter than Eaton's. And the old Kenny Bells, like the 2.4 and the 2.2, which I have a 2.4, in case you forgot, they're like the hottest of the hot, because they're an old blower design and they weren't very efficient. So yeah, I was seeing about 150-ish IAT2s after, 30-minute drive or so. And that's doing about 80 on the interstate. Then fast forward to the intercooler, about when I figure the intercooler blew out. I would see 170 plus. And if I ever got on it, it just went up. And it didn't cool back down with the blown intercooler. And so, as y'all know, last fall, got the VMP intercooler. Well, the VMP intercooler, I thought it did a pretty good job as far as it was cooling off though, so the weather wasn't as hot. Well, it's getting up to about our normal standard summer weather here, and the past 2 days I've been driving it, again 80 miles an hour roughly for about 30 minutes or so, and I'm peaking out about 135 and now that's with antifreeze. I've been running antifreeze ever since we swapped out the intercooler, so I know from experience that I could drop probably at least 10 degrees off my IAT2s if I went to water. I don't want to do that right now because I don't want to. I'm just probably going to run antifreeze from now on. I'm not really into running straight water and having to worry about breaking the intercooler. But that's considerable. Going from 150 to 130 to 135. I mean, it's not really that big. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but 15 degrees. And if your intercooler is broken, you're talking like 40-degree difference, and even further if you get on it. Because one thing that the VMP intercooler does do better than the stock intercooler ever did was recover. It doesn't raise the intercooler temps. The IAT2s don't raise as fast when you're getting on it, and also they come down faster because more flow is going through the blower. Malcolm V8 did a video showing the flow between the stock intercooler and the VMP recently. I think he just published it today as I'm filming this, and it made me think I need to go ahead and do a video on this because it's decent data. I mean, I'm running the 85, have been for the last couple of 2-3 years only, so I'm not at the heat soak level where I'm pulling timing, which is awesome because before the VMP intercooler I was. That's big because it's already, if I'm already at 150 and that's where it starts to pull timing, then before I ever get on it I'm already down on power. Whereas now it doesn't really even climb that high when I get on it, and it comes down faster. So plus I'm down below that level. It sounds like I'm rambling, but I'm lots of data that I want to brain dump over the years. Some things I do plan on doing is ditching the LFP heat exchanger, getting a better something better. If nothing else, I might get another LFP but have 1-inch bungs welded, and get a different coolant tank and get a better pump, because flow is what matters, and if I can get larger lines running, then that will even more so increase their cooling capacity. So while I don't have what everybody wants, which is quarter-mile IAT data, fortunately I'm never going to have that probably because we don't have a quarter-mile track here. I think what I have is actually real-world data. It's not scientific, but scientific things don't always translate to real-world data. So, in my mind, what matters is what happens in the real world, not in a scientific lab. That applies to my job and everything. So anyway, in my opinion, if nothing else, it's a better than stock replacement, even if you just got the intercooler itself. I do have the water manifold, which even helps further if I do want to upgrade to 1-inch lines later. But it did improve the IAT2s over the stock unit even before it was broken. So that being said, VMP did a good job with that intercooler. I will also comment, Malcolm V8, he just posted a video about his when he was putting that intercooler in and he noticed his bolts were too long. That is one downside. I had the same problem and I've got a totally different blower. I ended up having to do the same thing he did, which was get shorter bolts. So note to yourself, if you're gonna buy that intercooler, go ahead and get shorter bolts before you start the process of installing it, because you're gonna realize you need them. Anyway, this video's been long enough. I'm just rambling on. If you like some content like this, I do like collecting data. I'm a very analytical type of person, so I would like to do more of this if that's what y'all would enjoy. So if you do, like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time, guess what? You know what's coming. I'll be back. Take care, y'all.